Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer with Oculus Rift Reviews. Today we're going to do a review for Falcon Age VR. Falcon Age is a game that wasn't on my radar at all, and I only found out about it by accident. I was getting my free games on the Epic Game Store as I usually do, and I noticed a sale and I saw Falcon Age and I thought, you know what, let me see about this game. I didn't know anything about it. And as I was reading, I saw, what? It has VR support. It's way at the bottom of the bullet list. It's not obvious at all. This is VR supported. But it didn't say whether it supported the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift, Windows Mixed Reality. I didn't know. I went ahead and bought it. Normally retails for $20. It's currently on sale, 35% off. And that's why I bought it. And I tested it out on both Windows Mixed Reality and the Oculus Rift. I can confirm it works with both headsets. However, to get VR to start, you have to go to the options. You have to enable VR, then restart the game. If you're on Windows Mixed Reality, you have to make sure that Steam VR is already running. You don't for the Oculus Rift. I will say this game definitely plays a lot better on the Oculus Rift with the touch controllers just because the controls are easier. But it does play on Windows Mixed Reality. Just some of the controls are a little rough around the edges, at least a lot more on Windows Mixed Reality. This game took me about 5 hours to complete, although I've read other people finish it in 3 hours. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to do. This game does have like a grinding aspect to it, so you can definitely grind for some items in this game, to get some little toys for your pet, some clothing, some upgrades. So if you want your hawk to be all decked out in the nicest costumes and whatnot, there is a little bit of grinding that will take a while in this game. There is a story narrative going on. It's hard to describe this game. Some people have described it as an RPG. I'm not sure I would call it an RPG. But there is combat and there is a story element. And the best part of this game is definitely your Falcon. And you care for it. You feed it if it's hurt. You take away the little damage to it from the shots from the towers to your Falcon. And there's certain upgrades, certain foods you can give your Falcon to improve its chances in combat. Other than that, you're collecting items, so a lot of this game is just fetch quest. And there's basically only two types of quests. It's either a fetch quest where they tell you to go get something, or it's a combat quest where you're told to go to a certain area and basically you destroy the towers. The combat is pretty repetitive. It's not all that interesting. Basically, you have an electric melee weapon and you have your Falcon, and basically you use your melee whenever possible, but sometimes you need the help of your Falcon to take down enemies, and sometimes your Falcon can take care of some enemies on its own. But you definitely need some of those upgrades to improve your chances in combat. So a lot of this game is going from one place to another to be able to get the items that you need to upgrade your Falcon to improve your chances in combat. I have to admit, while I did like the Falcon, it's very cute, and you can put different outfits and give it different toys, and that's all very cute. The gameplay itself for me was not very interesting, and the story wasn't very interesting as well. The story is kind of convoluted. You're kind of put in an interesting situation where it sounds like it will be a good story, but the execution just ends up being rather poor. And a lot of it's just because it seems like a very truncated story. Like they really went from A to Z a little too fast. And because of that, the story just falls flat. It's just not very interesting at the end. I did experience several issues. So you do have full locomotion and you do have snap turning. You also have teleportation as the default option. You can also enable strafing. I will say though, when I enabled strafing in this game, it caused a lot of issues. And the locomotion in this game is a little janky. So by default, the locomotion without the strafing You actually have to turn, and you can only move forward and backward. You have to snap turn direction that you want, or it's also controlled by gaze-based directional movement. With the strafing, what happens is you have this unwanted momentum, and it does feel like you're a drunk sailor, and you're constantly moving left or right without wanting to. So I found the locomotion with the strafing enabled actually made it worse. So I definitely do not recommend that you enable strafing. I also experienced several issues in the last fight where the game was just running terribly, the game crashed, and I had to restart the fight from the very beginning. And just the whole interactions, a lot of them are just point and click. A lot of the combat just wasn't very responsive, where I was trying to get my electrified stick to work and it just wouldn't, or I would try to get my Falcon to perform a certain action and it wouldn't. So just almost every interaction here is not very immersive. It's very clunky and it's a little on the janky side. I did enjoy having the Falcon. I loved having a little Falcon pet, and I thought this would be a great game because of it. But everything else in this game is really subpar, from the locomotion to all the bugs in the game, to the combat being very poor, to even the puzzle elements. You know, there are certain blocked off areas you have to figure out how to get around. Even those were very clunky due to the poor locomotion. And just the story isn't very interesting. Only certain phrases are voiced, and it's just very truncated. It's just not very much in depth. I just didn't like this game. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It just wasn't very good.